This is my new DJI Mavic Mini 2, the sort of new tool in my video making arsenal, specifically for my car channel At The Wheel. I've been making videos for At The Wheel for the last sort of 6 months or so, and as lockdown is easing, I'm going to be sort of effectively having more cars in, going to more press events, and so having a new tool in my arsenal is going to be very exciting and very useful. Now, since this is both relatively new and new to me, I thought I would give you a bit of an overview and I suppose a bit of a review of it here on the TechteamGB channel. But if you want to see it in action, or at least see its results in action, then do check out the At The Wheel channel for some upcoming videos. Other than that, a bit of a brief explanation about the Mavic Mini 2. This is a 249 gram drone. That's important because, at least here in the UK, the UK drone laws say that anything under 250 grams doesn't have to be registered, and so you can basically just go and fly it, and as long as you're being sensible and not, running it into people, it's a-okay. Except there's one caveat. If it's got a camera, even if it's under 250 grams, you still have to register for an operator ID, which, while not the end of the world, it costs £9 a year, and I think you renew it once a year, whereas you don't need to register for a flyer ID, the one that is free but and lasts for 5 years, but you have to take a theory test. Except the thing is that when you go to register for an operator ID, you'll pretty much be automatically taken through the theory test anyway, and so you may as well just take it because it's pretty much just common sense and very easy to sort out. And then you get a flyer ID and an operator ID, and you're sort of all done. Now you might be thinking, well, why did you bother buying the 249 gram drone when you could buy a standard Mavic or whatever, get a fancier camera, fancier gimbal, a bit more powerful, faster drone, and you would still have to register that anyway? Well, the reason is that there is a couple of caveats in the UK drone laws that say even if you do have to register for, say, an operator ID, because it's under 250 grams, you're allowed to fly it directly over people within reason, and you're allowed to fly it within 50 meters of people. That's not 50 meters diagonally, that's 50 meters across the ground. If it's heavier than 250 grams though, you're not allowed to directly fly it over people unless they are expressly consenting. So an example of that would be you and your friends go to a completely empty field that you're allowed to be in, and you can fly any weight of drone directly above you as much as you like. But if you go to your local park and there's lots of people around that you haven't expressly asked, am I allowed to fly this drone directly over you, then you're not allowed to. And again, you're not allowed to fly within 50 horizontal across the ground meters of people, which again can make it pretty difficult. So that's why I went with the 249 gram Mavic Mini 2 instead of something like the standard Mavic. But what you get for your 249 grams is incredibly impressive. This is also the lowest end model in DJI stack that still offers a 3-axis gimbal 4K camera, and some of the results are stunning. The fact that it's on a 3-axis gimbal means that it honestly looks like it's on a tripod. Like, look at this shot from the Peak District. It was, I think, like 50 meters above me, and it genuinely looked like it was on a tripod. It's incredibly still and really nice quality. In fact, speaking of the quality, I want to show you some of the other clips that I got when I went out to the Peak District, and a nice sunset I captured while I was out and about, and some of the car clips that I was testing out and working out as well, as that's obviously going to be my sort of main focus once I'm sort of done with the review. Now the camera can shoot at 4K 30 FPS, or if you want a bit higher FPS, you can shoot at 2.7K at 60 or 1080p 60 if you'd prefer. Either way, the maximum supported bitrate is 100 megabits per second, or if you prefer shooting stills, well, it can do up to 4000 by 3000 thanks to its 12 megapixel 1/2.3 inch sensor. Like I said, it's also on a 3-axis gimbal, so that means that it's incredibly stable while flying around, but you can also use the nerd wheel on the back of the controller to adjust the camera's tilt or sort of pitch essentially. So you can have it, say, pointing directly down and do some really cool fly off into the sunset type shots like I did above my partner's Mini, but you can also have it pan past things, or you can have it set to certain angles so as you're approaching an object it's more or less visible, all that sort of stuff. You can control that from the camera, from the controller, which is really nice. In terms of the drone itself, this is incredibly small. Like, this, when it's folded up, can literally fit in a large pocket. It's insane. Also, as you might come to expect, it does fold up and fold away, so the bottom arms sort of fold up and in, whereas the back or the top ones fold sort of inwards or over, I don't know what I'm saying, but either way, it's incredibly small. Also comes with a gimbal guard and a propeller guard, which makes it really easy to transport it around. And if you buy the Fly More combo, which I highly recommend you do, you get a nice carrying case, which makes it super easy to carry it around. You also get this triple battery charger, which can also act as a power bank, which is sweet, and comes with 2 spare batteries, along with the other one that comes in the drone, and so you get 3 total batteries, and flight time is around 30 minutes, so with 3, you get an hour and a half of flight time, which is incredible. And despite its absolutely tiny size and its ridiculously small and cute motors, this thing can fly a little over 30 miles an hour in sport mode, which is enough to keep up with cars in a sort of residential zone, which is really, really cool. It is relatively agile, although it's definitely no FPV drone, it's no race quad, but it is relatively quick to respond, and so it can be pretty fun to fly, as well as also relatively maneuverable. The one disadvantage to having a drone that's this light is that it does get buffeted around by the wind a fair bit, and so if you are in sort of relatively high wind situations, it's probably not the best to try and fly it, because it spends most of its power just trying to fight the wind and stay still, and then when you go and try and fly it around, it's not the easiest to control. So unless you're very comfortable, it's probably best to stay out of windy conditions. When it comes to the controller, this thing is actually really cool. Now, your phone mounts to the top with the mount that's built into it. It's just a sort of standard phone holder that springs into place and pops out the top. One of the nice things is that the cable that you use to attach your phone is built into the top, so that you can just pop it out, plug your phone in, and when you're done, you just wrap it away, pop it back in place, and then you can drop the phone holder back down and it's all nice and contained. Also, the thumbsticks screw into place. They're actually stored in the bottom of the controller when you're not using it. So again, it makes it really easy to make this super portable. One thing that I would mention with the controller and with controlling the drone in general is that if you've ever used a hobby or race drone or something like an RC plane, the way that DJI have set up the controls here are not the same as you would have used before. Previously, or with a sort of what you might call traditional quadcopter or whatever else, the left stick, at least in mode 2 anyway, is your throttle. So it sits at the very bottom and has a full range of travel up to the top. The more you put in there, the more throttle you give it, and so if it's stationary, or if it's in a single place and you don't put any other inputs in, if you just full throttle it up, it will go at full speed directly upwards. If you want to make it go forwards, then you use the right stick, and the right stick controls basically just its tilt and roll. So by pushing forward the right stick, all you're doing there is telling it to roll the quad forward, or put more power into the back rotors and less power into the front ones to make it pitch forward. You then have to also apply throttle with the left stick to make it go forward and maintain its altitude. Same if you want to come backwards, left or right, or even diagonal. You need to manage that manually. Whereas with these DJI drones, the left stick is sitting in the middle. And that's because the controls that these offer are a lot more obfuscated. The left stick doesn't control throttle. Pressing up on it just increases the height, pressing down on it decreases the height. Leaving it in the center will maintain its altitude pretty damn well, which is really impressive. Pushing on the right stick will make it go forward. That's not a tilt forward, that's go forward. So if you want to make it go forward at full speed, all you need to do is just push forward on the right stick. You can completely leave your hand off of the left one and it will still go 33 and a bit miles an hour forward without much effort. Now, people who have flown DJI drones before would probably be looking at me thinking, yeah, that's how it works, who cares? But if you're someone like me who has come from more standard or traditional control methods, this takes a while to get used to. I completely understand why DJI has done this. It makes a lot of sense, especially for what is essentially a flying camera platform rather than a race drone, and it makes it way easier to control the camera and to focus more on what you're filming rather than controlling the drone. Being able to just press takeoff on the phone, have it rise to, 1.5 meters and stay there, and then you just control what height it sits at and it will manage itself rather than you having to manage the throttle to keep it in place, is a really intuitive and almost sort of idiot-proof way of doing it. I am still getting used to that control method and also the sort of spatial awareness that you need to have when flying these, especially because with the camera on here, the video feed is maybe half a second delayed to what the actual drone is doing. And so, especially when I first started flying it, I did almost crash into my partner. And so you do need to be careful. When flying it with line of sight, I also did crash it into a pole, which did have some minor damage. It's fine, nothing catastrophic. I did glue it back together, and I do also have the insurance in case I do anything terminally stupid with it. But it takes a bit of a while to get used to and a bit of a while to get comfortable with. I'm also not quite comfortable having it go too far away or too high. The UK drone laws say that you can fly up to 120 meters high, but I think the maximum I've had it is about 50 to 70. So, I've still got a fair amount before I hit that ceiling. And the furthest I've had it from me, I think, is about 300 meters, because at that point, even though I was out in the Peak District, it was nice and clear, and I just couldn't really see it, and I wasn't very comfortable with it being that far away at that point. So there's still a bit of a learning curve for me there. In terms of it being a useful tool for me, being able to film cars from some pretty unique angles, and also when I get more comfortable with it and I can find a safe and sensible location to do it, following cars along the road as well, I think that will be very interesting. But when I get to that point and when I have some more cars into review and that sort of stuff, I am very excited to try this out and get some more unique and interesting shots with it. It's obviously not a necessity, but from a production standpoint, I'm very happy that I have this in my sort of arsenal of camera gear. And so I'm very excited to get started with it. From a review perspective, this is a very interesting drone. Of course, it's still relatively high priced for the sort of hobbyist, someone who just wants a toy to play with or something to take with you on holidays. It's still relatively expensive for that, but from a production standpoint, the fact that it's well under £1,000, it's closer to 500 than 1,000, and it has a 4K 3-axis gimbal stabilized camera is remarkably good. I think this is going to unlock a lot of possibilities for a lot of people who do more outdoor filming of, things like cars, but also of landscapes and sceneries. And I think this is going to be a very good tool for a lot of people. Of course, if you're after more of a toy than you are of a camera platform, then buying an FPV drone or race quad is probably going to be a better shout for you. It's probably going to be more fun, more enjoyable. Although how remarkably quiet this thing is really got me, because some of the race quads that I've flown and heard are insanely loud, very powerful motors running very fast, whereas this is basically silent. Like, unless you're standing within 5 meters of it, you pretty much can't hear it, or maybe if you're directly under it, you can still hear it, but it's remarkably quiet, and so that's a very nice feature. So yeah, there you have it. There's my new toy. There is some of the, I suppose, practice shots that I've been getting. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, both of on the drone itself, but also on what you think I should do with it, the sort of shots that I should get with cars. Like I said, I am planning on doing following some moving cars with it, but I need to find a safe and sensible location to do that. Obviously, public, open public busy roads are not a viable option to do that. So when I can find a safe location, I will definitely be giving that a try. But yeah, if you've got any thoughts or suggestions, feel free to let me know in those comments down below. As always, I will leave a link to this in the description down below. It won't be an Amazon link, it will be to DJI's website directly, so not an affiliate link. Just if you want to check it out or pick one up yourself, feel free. There will be a load of other links in the description you can check out though for merch or hoodies or t-shirts like this one, or a load of other cool designs. Or there's also a Patreon for access to our Money Men Discord chat and sponsor-free videos, and of course you support me and my tech buying addiction a little bit too. Also, if you want to see this thing in action, or at least the results of it, then do check out my car channel At The Wheel, which will be linked on the end cards as always. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to this channel too, feel free to do that as well. Otherwise, I will leave some more videos on the end cards. I don't think I have anything related. Maybe the Hubsan H107 from like 10 years ago. If you want to check that out, feel free. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you on the next video.